Victoria, and I'll be moderating this panel that we have tonight, which is super awesome. I'm so excited. We have a bunch of parents here who have LGBTQ children, and we're going to talk to them about their experiences and all the other things that go around with that. And we have some questions, but then it's kind of an open forum. So I'm going to start with just saying, I'm going to ask you your name and how you're involved with the queer community. So we'll just go down the line.
Hi, my name is Donna, and I have a daughter in the queer community.
Hi, my name is Megan. I have a son who is transgender.
My name is Debbie, and I have a son who's in the community, and he is married, so I have a son-in-law as well.
I am Dave. I'm Debbie's husband, and I have a daughter who is in the LGBT community, and she is married as well in a same-sex marriage.
All right. So we're just kind of, whoever wants to go first, and we'll give everybody some time. So the first question is, what has been the hardest part in all of the experience? Whether it's family dynamics, social dynamics, or school dynamics. What for you perceive as being the hardest aspect?
I guess I'm going because I have the microphone. I think for me, the hardest part is just not knowing whether wherever my son goes, he's safe. Whether it's going on job interviews or being at work and who he's going to encounter, going to the grocery store. If he goes to Walmart, he tells me he's going to Walmart at 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, please don't go to Walmart at 9 o'clock at night. Like, you know, so I think this the safety aspect of it, and just to make sure that he's not treated badly or bullied or beat up or whatever might happen. Of course, it's probably worse in my mind, but that stuff does happen. So that to me is the hardest part of it.
We are blessed the fact that our family dynamics, our children, there was never any hesitation whatsoever. They were accepted for who they are, and loved by their family, their siblings, their parents. So for us, our children never had to endure any kind of being separated or not being accepted by the family. So that's one thing that I think we're really blessed for.
When I think of the hardest part of this journey, on me and on our family, it was when we found out that our church of 18 years was not supporting of us and wasn't willing to affirm our child for who they were. And I believe that when people decide to have children, and I feel like we hear so many times over and over again, I'll love you unconditionally, I'll love you unconditionally. And I feel like that's just thrown around, that people don't really actually take into account what unconditionally means. And in some ways, we say that we want our kids to be whoever they are and explore whatever they want and do what interests them and this and that. And we want them to be who they are. And then when I tell you who my child really feels like they are, and you deny us that is the most painful thing to look at and feel so from a group of people who you thought were your friends and your family. Thankfully, my family is on board and super supportive. So
I will echo what Debbie said. My family's been very supportive of Kelsey. It's never been a question, but I do fear for her safety. She lives in Florida right now, so that's even adding to it. But when she was in high school, she endured a lot of bullying. She ate her lunch in the counselor's office every day her entire high school career because she did not feel comfortable going to the cafeteria. It was not a safe space for her. So, and there's still, she graduated 5 or 6 years ago, and that and several other things, she still carries with her. It's not like you just graduate and you leave it behind. She still carries it with her. So it's just her safety and her acceptance for who she is. I was in a book club recently that Kelsey was not involved in, and I heard a member of the queer community say, I want the least interesting thing about me to be that I'm queer. And I thought, wow, like I've never heard it verbalized like that, but that's so true. Like that shouldn't be their label. They should just be who they are. So
I love it. So the next part of that, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but then think about the wider world. So the question is, what are your fears about how the world will react to your child, and how does that color how you proceed?
Yeah, we did kind of touch on it a little bit. I think it's mainly like a safety thing. I worry about, she's graduating college in December. So she's actively thinking about what she's going to do starting in January. And she's even verbalized to me, I need to find an employer who is affirming. I need to find safe people, a place of business that I can feel comfortable kind of being myself with. And, all of those things, right? Discrimination, judgment, bias, hate. It's just all those things. So,
Can you repeat the question? Oh, what are my fears for how the world
Yeah.
perceives them? Yeah, I just feel like the way our country is and our world is, it limits where my son will choose to explore, travel, go to college, all those things, because he fears for his safety. He's 13 years old and already is wise beyond his years, as far as we didn't even know that there's an app that will tell you your neutral bathroom near you when you're on road trips. Like, he already had it on his phone, these things. And so, yeah, I just feel like it limits where he will feel comfortable going, being himself.
Yeah, I think definitely the political climate and legislation and whatever state you're in and how it goes, and just all of the people that have come out and feel free to hate openly now, where I feel like wasn't so open, a few years ago. Now it's a lot more open. People feel more comfortable being hateful. I know my son and son-in-law had to research for their honeymoon what tropical places would be affirming and accepting of them being there on their honeymoon, which I didn't even, like you said, that thought never crossed my mind. I never had to think about it. I didn't even think about it for them because it's not what we think about them. Like, they just were going on their honeymoon, just like my son and daughter-in-law. But yeah, I just, the way the world is going, I mean, even other countries are, making laws against the community and those kinds of things. So for me, it's just, hopefully we have this next generation that is not tolerating this stuff, and they're really going to get out and vote and help change those things.
Well, yeah, and just a sidebar, and it's not even remotely similar, but my husband and I just went on our 10th anniversary to Kentucky, and he's Mexican, and we felt uncomfortable in certain places, and it was, I imagine it's kind of in the same realm, and so Yeah, definitely a world fear. I know we've talked about a lot of the challenges that you've faced, but are there any other challenges that you would like to share just in your experience? Challenges with school, family, world, just anything that comes to mind.
For me, I feel like with my son when he was growing up, I mean, I knew he was gay since he was about 2, so it was no surprise when he came out. When he didn't come out till he was 25, but his whole school career until he really got to high school, he was kind of a loner because he didn't really fit in with the boys. And then you can't really, when you get to a certain age, then the boys and girls aren't mixed, everybody's separated. So he spent a lot of time alone without, I would say, friends. So that was heartbreaking to watch. And then he has a brother that's 2.5 years younger, and he had a ton of friends and was doing a ton of things. So I feel like it wasn't until he got into high school and then got into the drama world and the art world that he, made friends. And, most of them were girls, which is totally fine. But I feel like the girls are just more accepting of the guy, the boys in the gay community. So I think that was the hardest part of watching him grow up, was him just being so alone all the time.
I think for me, my daughter was sort of the opposite of what Debbie described. My daughter was very popular. She was in the in group. She played sports and she was involved. She had this big group of kids that she hung around with. And then at the end of her sophomore year is when she let some kids know that she felt she was gay. She was having those feelings. And from that point on, she was isolated and just by herself, her and her girlfriend. That was it. And I didn't know, she was having these thoughts, but I knew definitely something had happened in her social world because overnight she was just isolated. And I found out years later that was why, because she had told some of her friends that, hey, I think I'm gay. And she was just shunned for that. And I even now, if you would get to know my daughter or son, it's just like, get to know them as people. Donna made the comment about, I wish people knew them for everything or anything other than, that's not how I want my daughter to be identified. She is amazing in so many ways. And even as a gay person, she's amazing. So.
My child is younger, and so we're dealing with middle school fun, and 6th grade and 7th grade were really, really hard. The bullying was bad, and we ended up homeschooling for a little bit just because of it. I see how mental health is so prevalent. Like I'm thankful that it's more normalized to be talking about it, and even for kids to be saying like, oh well, my mental health is crap right now or whatever, like just talking about it versus not talking about it. And we have some new administrators at the middle school this year, so things are better, much better. I'm thankful for that. And I think some challenges have been like my son's, some of his friends at school aren't out to their parents. So when they're friends at school, but then, the kids will go home and say like, oh, I want to do something with so-and-so. And like, you're not going to a boy's house. You're not going to hang out with a boy or whatever. And so then I was like, well, now, like your circle bigger because these are school friends. And then you can have other friends who are, but that also is limiting, right? Especially to middle schoolers. So, there's lots of challenges.
I think that touched on is a big I'm so pleased, might not be the right word, but to see that people talk more about it and say things like my mental health is tapped out or, at capacity or whatever. When Kelsey was in high school, that just became something else to be bullied about. She's African American, she's adopted, she's queer, she struggles with her mental health. I mean, she's got like bing, 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 bing of things that people would pick on her for. And all of that just had kind of like a circular effect of just making the mental health struggles that much more challenging. So I'm grateful that mental health as an industry seems to have improved over the past few years. I just really, really hope that it continues to improve. So,
Thank you guys for sharing. I mean, it's struggle growing up in general. So I understand. Right. I wouldn't want to be a kid now. That's for sure. So kind of on a different note, what is one thing or a few things even that you wish that people knew about your loved one? Or just the queer community in general? What do you want people to know?
I think that they're just looking for love and complete acceptance and, not to have that label define who they are.
I guess what I would want them to know is that my child before they came out is still the same person that they are today. They have a different name, they have a different look, but everything about Ezekiel is the same as when they weren't out. And so they're still can be confident and a leader and wise and brave and funny and all those things. And we just call them a different name and use different pronouns.
Yeah, I would say I would prefer that my son is known for being loving and caring and artistic and creative and smart and successful instead of the first thing that that he's gay or in a same-sex relationship. He's just living they're just living their life like we're living our lives. Like they're just married, they love each other, they have a home, they have jobs, cars, yard work. I mean, the same things we all have. So I think, I would like to just see that it's not that they're just like us and we're not calling them a community. We're all just people in the same community.
I guess kind of what I talked about before. I would love people to get to my daughter and my daughter-in-law for who they are. They spend their lives, their careers are caring for other people. And my daughter works in a hospital setting, caring for people. And in that setting, she is appreciated, who she is valued. But some of those same people that she's caring for, if it was outside the hospital setting in society, it would be a different relationship with her. But so I just love her for who she is, get to know her. Just in society in general, one thing my daughter shared with me at one time is like, as far as being a part of the LGBT community, they are judged wherever they go. And the last place my daughter shared with me that she wanted to be judged was in a church. So the fact that this church and a couple other churches around here are affirming and loving everyone it's a huge step for, I know, my daughter and their spouses to know that they can go to a church where they are loved and not judged.
And that's a good segue into the next question. It's basically we're seeing a bigger resurgence of churches that are affirming, and that's a positive step. But based on the majority of churches out there and the government, as we kind of touched on earlier, what are there any other fears or things that you're feeling about where the future of this country and faith is going, or is it comforting? I don't know.
As a Christian and an affirming a Christian, I just have to ask, what is so hard about loving thy neighbor?
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with that. I feel like, I think that I'm hoping anyway, and praying that more churches will, become affirming and realize that, maybe they haven't gotten it right all these years. I know there's plenty of affirming pastors in the evangelical world that are willing to talk to pastors that maybe are on the fringe. And I know there's pastors that maybe personally feel that way, but can't verbalize it at their current church or they lose their job. So it's a hard place to be in the middle. I mean, we were there. We worked at our church. It wasn't affirming. It took us a while to decide that we had to leave because we could no longer be part of it. We couldn't be complicit in what they were doing because we didn't want to be part of something that was hurting people, and especially people that we love, and even the people there that we had relationships with that were gay and coming out and things were happening. So I don't know. I feel like, and again, like I said earlier, the next generation isn't putting up with this stuff. So go Gen X or Z or whatever they are, like whoever you
I don't know, what is it
let's
called
go.
now?
Get organized and help us.
That is very true. I do find a lot of hope in the next generation, and I feel like a lot of the bullying really comes from what these kids hear at home and what they're learning, and so the hope is that would eventually deteriorate. And I work at Columbia College in the city, and 62. No, I'm lying. There's a percentage. It's either 42 or 62. I have to imagine it's 42. That's a big difference, I know. But 42% of the student population consider themselves part of the LGBTQ community. 42%. Like, that's huge. And Chicago is a really incredible place to be. And I love working there and seeing so many diverse students just being themselves, and being in a place where you can do it, you can be you. And so gosh, I forgot what yeah, but
You're on track.
Next generation.
You're on track. Just the trends of the country and church in general.
Yeah.
You're good. You're on track.
Well, just touching on the fact that, some states are actually pulling back on rights, human rights. That's really scary to me. I can't believe that I'm raising two daughters who have less rights than I had when I was growing up. That scares me. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. I have a lot of faith in the next generation, but I feel like I'm going to roll into your next question if I say it. But I mean, I feel like we just need to educate ourselves and just get out there and vote. I mean, it's not right what's happening right now. So
no, it's fine. No, but just the final question, and this is going out to people who are not necessarily in the LGBTQ community. What do you perceive as the best way that allies can just support either your child or just people in the queer community? What do you see as the best way to do that?
I think if they just ask questions from a loving place, and get curious about people who are different from them. And I know this is hard because I still sometimes make screw ups, but using language really carefully and picking your words really carefully. Like the difference in church between affirming and welcoming, I mean, it's just the language matters to this community. And I feel like those are things that just learn, be curious, be like Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental, like. I'm still thinking.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing, like get to know someone in the community. You know somebody. You do. Everybody knows somebody. Start building a personal relationship with them, and then you're going to realize, oh my gosh, they're just like my kids or my sister or my brother or whoever it is. And as for being an ally, I mean, I've had conversations with people at work who make comments like, well, when they make me put my pronouns in my email signature, I'm going to quit. And I'm like, well, why? What is the deal with that? What's the problem? And I'm like, that's just letting people know that you're a safe person, that you respect that people, whoever they are, and that you're a safe person. And they're like, well, they should know I am. And I'm like, no, the people in the LGBTQ community don't know you're safe. So if you put your pronouns in there, then they know you're safe. It doesn't mean you're whatever. I don't know. I feel like that happened. That was real. I just feel like, and then like what we're doing tonight, like, did I ever think that I would be a person speaking out for this community? Never. And I mean, no, not me. I'm just a mom. I'm just a wife. I'm just from Woodridge, Illinois. Like, I'm nobody, but I'm a mom, and I'm not going to let people treat my kids this way. And so that's why we decided that we had to like start speaking out and speaking up. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, along with what Donna and Debbie said, educate yourselves, be open to learning, and bless you, and do not judge. Get to know the people. Um, I guarantee you probably everybody knows someone in the LGBT community, whether it's a child, a nephew, a niece. You might not know it yet, but I'm sure there's somebody in your family who is in the LGBT community. So just treat them with love and get to know them for who they are.
It just came to me. So I recorded a podcast with LifeSpring, and the woman who was in the answering questions, also her name is Diane. The last question was sort of the same question, and it's regarding like church and those 6 clobber verses they call them. And she said, well, if we've done the work to you know come to this place of being affirming and feeling like the Bible doesn't really say what those 6 verses mean, then we would like you to do the work on your side to like dig deep and like research why and how in the context of those verses or whatever it is that you believe. So like if we've done it, then we ask that you do it so that you can be knowledgeable and we can have a conversation about it.
As far as being an ally, I think that there's so many different ways to contribute to supporting resources that are already available to kids and people who are in the community. And I know that a lot of people, would say something like, you don't have money or you don't have time. Like there are so many different ways that you can support, whether it be like hosting a fundraiser or giving of your time if time is something that you have, because there are so many different resources that we need in order to make things work.
Well, yeah, support like queer-owned businesses. That's a big one, right? A lot of we probably all have an Amazon account, but maybe some of those purchases that we're making on our Amazon account we could make from a queer-owned company. And then also just educate yourself before you go to the polls. and see what these candidates stand for and how their platform is going to affect the queer community. So
A lot of it's education, and that is across the board for sure. Well, I just want to thank you all for being here and giving us your take on everything. Does anybody have any questions? I can pass you the microphone.
As parents, have you found resources to help you try to navigate this journey? And what are those? What's been the most helpful? And what are your ally? Do you have recommendations for people to be ally you in this, given the social constructs of this country and what's going on?
oh, that's a good question, Cheryl. I would say for me personally, I had to get vulnerable and share with somebody that this was my situation. And luckily, they recommended a couple of ladies, Debbie's one of them, that I get to know a little bit better. So Other Moms is a great resource. There's a ton of social media groups on Instagram and on Facebook for parents of the queer community, and as a larger platform, but then also specific to how your child identifies as well, that have been really helpful. They have a lot of documentaries out that I recommend, podcasts that I recommend, that kind of thing. But I know the Mama Bears, which is one of the social media platforms, they're across the entire country, and they have a ton of resources on their social media pages and on their websites as well.
And we're actually showing their documentary here on November 3rd. It's free. There's tickets online.
Yeah, one of the national organizations that I've really enjoyed being a part of is called PFLAG, PFLAG, and there's one in Wheaton, DuPage, and it's just so amazing, like the resources, and you can get involved at any level that you want to. You can literally just show up once a month. That's what their meetings are, once a month, but then they give all the resources, all like things, events, stuff like that. And then most of the people at that meeting have older children who are part of the LGBT community, which is really cool because it's neat to have different generations of people, and just to see the love that they have. Everyone just, they love and accept their children, and they want the best for them. And so that's been a great resource for me. And Mama Bears is a great one too.
For me, same as Donna. It's just been other moms and other friends that are allies as well. Obviously, our family, like Dave said earlier, our family has just, when Andrew came out, I just made it clear, like, no one, if you don't accept it, then that's your problem, and you don't bring it, to us. So I feel like it's just family, friends, and more recently, I work at Joliet Junior College. I've been leading the LGBTQ employee resource group, and we partnered up with Joliet Pride Network. So that's been interesting to now be involved in that. And so, yeah. And then the Trevor Project and the Reformation Project. There's all just, and Instagram. You can just find there's all kinds of people I follow on Instagram. So just for support and information on legislation and what's going on. So those things for me have been helpful.
Two books that I think would be very helpful for maybe people on a journey who at this point aren't affirming, but if they would read these books with an open mind. The first one is Outlove, is that Julie Rogers, Outlove. And the other one, I don't remember the author, but the title is Unfair. So unfair and out love. If you're trying to educate yourself, if you're on a journey, whoever you are, just read them with an open mind.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm sure, people will have questions and they might reach out to us and we'll pass those along if we get them. Really do
Thank you
appreciate
to you and New Way for being allies and being advocates for our children as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. All right.